a $6 million thing. He changed my life before Gary Vee did. I was the Ollie King back then. Brain Surgery.
Yeah. You want to get straight into it?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Here we are at the Pickleball Centre of Kirkland, Everest Park, with Shawn, and we're about to ask him 10 questions. All right. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
That's not one of the questions, but I'm good.
Nope.
Only 10. That's all I got.
Drop one now.
M&M's or Skittles?
Wow. I like chocolate, so I'd say M&M's.
M&M's. Yeah, I'm more of an M&M's guy, but
peanut M&M's.
God, everyone is a peanut M&M's guy.
So good, so good.
I
eat the shell off first, and then I eat the chocolate, and then I eat the peanut.
Oh, it's like a gobstopper for you.
Yeah, but not as
hard.
Yeah.
I cannot stand peanuts. I'm just all about the...
You're not allergic?
No, not allergic. Just don't like them. Yeah, no.
All nuts?
I guess not all nuts, because I love pesto.
Pine nuts. Yeah. That's kind of different.
Yeah. I feel like that's like the soft person's nut, you know what I mean? I'm not getting...
so many ways we can go.
You can go every which way you want. This podcast is just about us having fun.
Nice.
What do you do to pay the bills?
That's a good question, actually. So I'm startup retired, but I'm doing a couple things right now that don't pay the bills, that's for sure. I started a nonprofit, so I do a lot of that work pro bono.
Hang on. Let's pause on that.
Okay.
First of all, let's go back. What got you retired?
Yes, semi-retired.
Semi-retired, okay. Yeah.
Mainly burnout. So
I
started a biotech company 10 years ago.
Okay.
And raised $20 million. It was an invention of mine, a cancer drug. And
oh, wow.
I was able to develop it and get it to the clinic. So it's currently in clinical trials.
No way.
For brain cancer. Yeah.
Holy shit.
So yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that was definitely an amazing journey. Lots of highs and lows, as they say, for the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
But I never raised venture capital, so I was constantly fundraising. So it was basically angel check to angel check.
Yeah.
And it took a toll.
Yeah, okay.
So
are you still invested in that company?
Yes, I still have my founder shares. And,
okay.
I'm still, so that's one of the ways I'm paying my bills is I still consult. I consult in biotech. I help that company. I help some other companies out.
Did you go to, obviously you must have went to university to become, so you did your 4 years undergrad. Did you do 4 years of being a doctor?
So I did 6 years of undergrad because I started doing research in the middle of it, and I got so into the research that I sort of dragged it out.
Okay.
So anyways, that's neither here nor there. Then I did a combined MD PhD program where I could get both degrees in 6 to 8 years. I finished in 7 years. So I did that at University of Virginia.
So not only are you like, oh, hey, this takes 6 to 8 years, so I'm doing a double degree, and then you're like, you know what, I'm so smart and such an asshole that I'm going to do it in 7.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I wasn't the fastest, actually. One of my classmates did it in 6. He did a PhD in 19 months, which is ridiculous, because he worked on fruit flies, genetics, and so fruit flies have a very fast, lifespan, and so he did a lot of. If you did that study in mice, it would take 3 times as long.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So I did the dual degree. I did a PhD in neuroscience, and I got the medical degree. Oops.
Okay. So how do you go from that? Because I don't see many doctors that. So I know a few doctors, and not many of them are going like, you know what? I'm going to go start a cancer drug.
Yep.
Like, how do you make that leap? Do you go and work somewhere, or? No.
So it is actually. I don't know how I got so sort of macro thinking, sort of visionary, but from the outset when I. So I became very interested in brain cancer as an undergraduate.
Oh, okay.
Because I go to the neurosurgery conferences every Wednesday morning, and they talk about these patients. And back then, in the 90s, there were no treatments for brain cancer that were approved by the FDA. So everything was experimental, and I was like, I'm going to do something about this. I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And so it's been my obsession, and so that just became like the North Star.
Wow.
And so I just started doing things that would sort of lead me to that, trying to cure brain cancer. So, med school, I'd be a neurosurgeon. I'd cut these tumors out and hopefully treat them. But eventually, it was the research. So, after I did my MD PhD, I did a postdoc at Oxford because I'm a super asshole. So I did 3 years of research there, but I made a big discovery.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get that discovery out of my mind. And so... Meanwhile, I'm training to become a neurosurgeon, and eventually I was like, I got to pick one because, and what really helped me was the North Star.
Yeah.
What can have the biggest impact on patients is my two hands operating on patient by patient, or inventing a drug and potentially treating thousands.
That is incredible. There's a guy in Australia, I think, and he has saved like 2 million babies or something like that.
Wow.
And it's just crazy. And what it was is that he has a certain type of like plasma or something like that they can...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that they can extract that would help these specific babies.
Yep.
And I'm always like he's probably going in thinking like, I'm going to help 1 or 2 people, you know what I mean? But he was able to go in and help thousands. And I think of that stuff where it's like, are you with the micro or are you better in the macro? You know what I mean? Like, where's your like best giving that sort of help?
Yeah. And sometimes it evolves, right? Because like, again, it started with neurosurgery, and then I fell in love with research, and the research led to the discovery. And then so it just...
So can I ask, when you decided you found the discovery, how long was it before you actually were able to implement, hey, I need to do something here? Like, were you twiddling your thumbs about it for 2-3 years? Were you like, hey, bang, I found this discovery, and then you told someone, they're like, hey, we need to do something like ASAP with that information? Or is there a lot of like red tape? I have no idea. Like,
well, so, I was very fortunate. I had a lot of options. So the first option was Oxford offered me a faculty position.
Yep.
So I could have done it there.
Okay.
Second option, which...
Would they have owned it if you'd done it there?
They would have, but I spin it out, license it back.
Okay.
I had to do that anyway eventually.
Okay.
So that was the first option. The second option was to go do neurosurgery, which is what I chose to do, and I did that in LA.
Yep.
And my chairman gave me a lab, so I could do that. And then the third option was just to quit all of it and start a biotech company.
Okay.
But I wasn't that... I was too risk averse at that time to just quit everything. So I started with neurosurgery, and it sounded great and everything, but then you realize neurosurgery training is 110 hours a week. You're just getting killed out there, and plus they're often mean. Very bad culture, work culture. So that actually helped accelerate me leaving neurosurgery, which is why on socials I'm Brain Surgery Dropout. And then I moved to San Francisco and started the company.
So you started the biotech company, how do you start something like that? Like, that seems so hard to sort of say, hey, people, invest in this thing, but this neuroscience stuff is probably much higher level than even like a really educated person. Well, a lot different, might say. But how do you get people to invest? Or did you like have money and you're like, I'm going to put all my money into this and then see how it goes?
No, I definitely didn't have money. It's just like everything else, right? So having been fortunate to get to the high upper echelons of neurosurgery training, I knew that it's just, one step at a time type of thing. So I just learned, neurosurgery, if I can do neurosurgery, starting a startup is not neurosurgery. It's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. There's Google and stuff like that.
You literally can say that joke. It's not brain surgery, and it's like right on the nose.
literally. So it's not brain surgery, but it did take some time to learn the lingo and all that stuff. But I was fortunate in that I chose to go to San Francisco, which is the birthplace of not only startups but biotech.
Yep. Oh, okay.
So it was the perfect milieu, if you will. And on top of that, UCSF, where I sort of took my project, had a course, 2-month-long course called Idea to IPO.
Yeah, where you did it in a month?
I did. Oh no, no, I couldn't accelerate that one because it's a prescribed course. Yeah. But anyways, they run you through it's basically startups 101 for faculty members and students and grad students who had ideas. And I was fortunate to be one of the the 100 people pitched and only 8 got chosen. I got chosen, thankfully.
Well, I'm pretty sure when you say, hey, I might have a cure for brain cancer going on here.
Well, there's it's UCSF, right? So all of those ideas were probably great. But, and I totally messed up the pitch too because I was so nervous. I was stumbling over my words. My mind went blank. It was horrible. But thankfully the idea got across somehow. And here we are. But so that's how it started. And then it just meeting people.
So you spent how long in this biotech company?
I went to UCSF in 2010 and I retired from the company in 2019.
Okay, far out. So like 9 years. Obviously highs and lows, and you're meeting all sorts of people. How much are you in the grind of actually figuring out the the I don't know what you would say, the drug or the antidote of what you're trying to work on? Like, are you got the idea and you're trying to get other people to work on it, or are you doing the work?
So I definitely did most of the work. So we had a lab. That was the first thing we spent money on. Is we rented a lab. It was literally 200 square feet, but it had everything I needed. And so I did the work myself. The work that I couldn't do, we'd contract out. So it depended on the task, and I just learned as I went. Like, I literally had no drug development experience. In fact, my first VC pitch, I didn't know what CMC is, which is the biotech term for manufacturing. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have it budgeted, and they're like, "That's like a $6 million thing," and I was asking for $2 million, and I was like, "Oh, I should probably look into that." So you're
like, I'm going to do this in my garage. It'll be fine.
You get shit wrong. You get shit wrong, but you learn. So
well, I think that's a big important part, because there's so many people that I think that like, oh, you went to school for a doctor, you had all this intelligence, but you still had to learn when you made left and right turns. And still to this day, that's what I love, that part where there's a little bit of failure, but you learn something a little, like, you know what I mean? It still grows.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Takes some humility for sure.
Oh, it definitely does. I'm out here with a podcast that looks like a bad octopus. Excuse me. And looking like an idiot and doing this.
You got your captain's hat on?
Oh, yeah, fire. I never know what hat I have on. I have like so many, so I just whipped one on as I walked out the door.
Nice.
So you retired. So what, you said a little bit of burnout, right? That you retired.
A lot of burnout.
A lot of burnout. Okay, so can we speak on that part if you want to, just so then people know what that sort of feels like? And where's that tipping point where you're like, I need to get out of this? Because I'm sure there's a part of you where it's like, I want my face, my name, everything associated with this, because if this goes as where I want it to go, I could do it would be amazing, right? You could have a statue of you made, like, I cured all brain cancer. Not saying that that's what it would do, but you know what I mean.
So it was actually two things, right? So number one, I married my co-founder.
Okay.
So and I've said this before, but marriage is hard, startups is hard, trying to cure cancer is hard, and if you mix it all together, that's that total mess. Can be a total mess.
Did you know each other before?
We did.
Okay.
We met during the neurosurgery interview trail.
Yeah.
And then reconnected afterwards.
Okay.
But she's awesome. In 2019, we had just gotten FDA clearance to start a clinical trial, which is an amazing win. That was literally, actually, that was a milestone that we were not supposed to hit with the money that we raised. So we hit a milestone beyond what we were supposed to.
Okay.
So we kicked ass. But then the investors were like dragging their feet, giving us more money. Meanwhile, I was 2 weeks away from having to lay off everyone.
Oh, wow.
The team that got us here.
Yeah.
including my wife.
Oh, wow.
And myself. At least I'd have to take myself off payroll.
Yeah.
So all that burnout, all that stuff building up to there, that was sort of the straw that broke my back. And then the marriage sort of failed during that month as well. And I was just like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
I was like, I listened to a Gary Vee podcast at the time, and it was like, you make the decision. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm burned out.
So the burnout from the company, do you this might be too personal, but do you think you and your wife would still be together if you weren't with the company? Or do you think that it was going to happen sort of no matter what, because of your personalities being in that sort of...
Yeah. I'll say this up front is I'm glad things happened the way they did.
Okay.
And she's a great person. The company definitely was a negative factor on the marriage, as you can imagine.
Well, it's hard to be... Like, where do you get a breath? You know what I mean? Like, my wife and I both work from home, two different stuff, but sometimes we're around each other and I'm like, I just need, like just time.
Yeah.
I need to go be by myself.
Exactly.
And I imagine that you are not getting that, especially in a startup. You're probably working 10, 12-hour days, if not more. And then you're going, all right, let's go home. All right, let's get dinner. What do you want for dinner? Like, oh, but do you remember this? Like, you got to talk to Steve tomorrow about this job or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it never stopped. And we made it even worse because, At the time we were in Connecticut, and we had this massive penthouse apartment, 4,000 square feet, and we made it our office. So the employees came. So we had this like 1,000 square foot living room. We turned it into the bullpen.
Yeah.
Put desks in there. It looked really cool. But there's literally no separation. We'd have employees in there, and then we'd go to the bar afterwards for a drink at happy hour. But anyways, there's no. And then we were supposed to not talk about work, but then we talk about work.
And then
so I don't regret it, but and we still have a good relationship because we have the company. That's sort of our baby. We don't have a child.
Yeah.
But obviously I'm still consulting for them, and I made her CEO.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. I'm glad that it all sort of seemed to work out and that you're in a good place.
It was just right because I was going to leave no matter what, and if she wasn't there, I think the company would have folded.
Oh, wow. Well, so moving from that, what do you do now? Like, obviously you're consulting, but is that you're here at Pickleball with me every other day.
Yeah.
How do you maintain your lifestyle?
That's a good question. Well, I live in LA, but I'm here for the summer in Seattle to spend time with my parents. So that's,
cool.
That's a privilege.
I had no idea that was why you're here. I just thought you'd moved here.
No, I'm thinking about moving back. So we'll see how that turns out. So again, there's two things that I do that I don't get paid for, which is my nonprofit, which is on brain cancer.
Yeah.
And that's based in LA. And then the second thing is I'm a brand new venture capitalist. So, starting a startup is hard, so I'm trying to help the next generation.
Wow.
So I have a tiny fund. It's only $1 million. We put in 25 to 50K. I try to be the first check-in and help these people get to either a Y Combinator or some more funding and, show them the ropes. And those two things I don't get paid for, although eventually the venture capital fund hopefully will show returns in 10 to 15 years. So I'm doing consulting. And then I'm also, as you know, a creator on social media. I have 6-figure following on TikTok.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to do
6 million?
6 figure. 700,000.
700,000.
6 figure.
6 figure. Sorry, I was thrown up by that.
I'm trying to get to $1 million. But, so I'm starting to get brand deals.
Oh, are you?
So I should hear back from one this week. It's a
cool.
It's a 5-figure brand deal. So
far out.
So
that is so crazy.
I know. I wouldn't imagine.
That's awesome. So when just speak on that a little bit, and then we'll get into more questions. What do you do on your social media so people here can and there'll be links in the description and stuff like that, obviously, but what do you do on there to sort of gain that much attention?
So my niche is STEM, obviously, science, technology, engineering, and math. And so I'm just trying to inspire the kids, right? So basically telling my story. I started in 2014 actually on Instagram, and I was doing the Gary Vee thing before it was a Gary Vee thing, sort of documenting the journey. So I literally post a picture every day and do a little caption of this is what we're working on today. And then it just sort of blew up. TikTok happened because of the pandemic, and an agency reached out and said, hey, I like your Instagram, you should do this on TikTok. And I was afraid of video, so I said no initially. But then they came back a couple months later, and I decided to do it because of Gary Vee again, because he was just like, turn the camera on and start talking and provide value and amplify positivity.
So you've mentioned Gary Vee a few times. You and I have spoken.
We're Gary Vee stands.
I think you might be more of a stan than I am.
I'm obsessed. I'm wearing his MLP team's shirt. I wear it every day.
You do. Luckily, he's only got one. He only washes it. No, I'm just kidding.
Got 10.
I don't know what's worse.
It's true.
But so you mentioned Gary Vee, and in our past conversations just here at Pickleball, you've mentioned how he was a big influence on you. Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I sort of have. I mean, he really... even before I quit, obviously, before I was burned out, right?
Yeah.
So I recognized it as far back as 2016.
Okay, yeah.
And I was even about to take another job.
Yeah.
And just leave the company.
Yeah.
But I ultimately, and it was an awesome job offer, and it might have been worth 7 or 8 figures by now in startup equity. But
wow.
But I don't regret the decision because the drug is still alive. But so I started listening to him back then. And he's the one that basically got me through my day. And he was the one that was saying, our thoughts are typically negative. It's a survival thing. And so the antidote to that is to pour positivity into your ears. And so every day I'd listen to his podcast. I'd listen to other positive podcasts. I'd listen to a bunch of audiobooks. I've got, I think, 500 audiobooks in my library. It's so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I sort of did the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, and that's all because of Gary Vee, and so grateful.
And you've got to meet him, right?
I got to meet him several times because of NFTs over the past year or so. So I met him 5 times. By the third time, he recognized me, so that was cool.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows my name, but he recognized me.
The next time he'll remember
the next time. He'll see this and go, "What's up, Shawn?"
He'll be like, "Why is that guy? Why is he on that shitty podcast?"
He'll be like, "Say hi to Matty."
Yeah, right. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Which movie do you think you've seen the most?
Oh, that's an easy one. Social Network.
Oh, wow.
I literally, when I'm working, some people listen to music, some people listen to frequencies and stuff like that. I have that movie playing in the background.
Wow, is it just inspiring to you? Or?
Yeah, I think that's how it started, because I started my company, so that came out in 2010, 2011, I believe, and that's when I was starting my company.
Yeah.
So I just got into that whole thing and being brazen and the whole mark. Whether you like him or not, he did a very bold thing, and so that was very inspiring. Plus, it's just a great movie. Right?
It's well written.
So
the dialogue is good. Yeah, I agree. The
dialogue is on fire.
Yeah, so. I had a startup, and I was sort of involved in that stuff when I was an intern and everything like that, and I was so into it. And so there's that entrepreneurial thing that sort of burns in you. Like, I want to do something that is my own, almost like that ownership, and whether it's like got your name to it or not, it's that like I've created something and given something to this world in a way that I'm not just doing it with someone else, not working as a team, but like I worked for Nintendo, and I was like, well, I'm doing this creative stuff, and creative's a very liberal word sort of there, but for the stuff I was doing, but doing the stuff there, I was like, well, I'm just building up someone else's stuff. I'm working so hard for their stuff, like I want to do that for myself and have that. So I feel you on that. Like that, there's that fire that he sort of builds. And it's like, all right, get in it. Let's do it. Like, but I do like how he's like sort of the conversation has evolved over the years. Like I was listening to him back when he did the TED talk about Smurfs. Do you remember this? Or you might? You
mean Gary Vee?
Yeah. And he did a TED talk where he's like, oh, if you're into Smurfs, like sell Smurfs and start a community about Smurfs. And I was like, I feel like I was like in the first 100,000 that viewed that video or something like that. And then that sort of got me involved, like sort of tracking him and sort of watching him. But yeah, it was, I do find that, I do feel like he's big enough where he can like dictate markets a little bit now. Like if someone, like if he gives someone a shout out, like if he shouted out this podcast and was like, this podcast would then grow immensely, right? I mean, so like, and obviously,
but it wouldn't do that indefinitely, right? You'd have to take advantage of it. Because then it would just go back.
But then you have stuff like what was it, the cyberpunks and the NFTs, right? And he was able to move that dial. CryptoPunks, that's right.
No, he definitely is to blame for that. Good and bad. Some people made a ton of money, some people lost their house.
Exactly. So, but also that's on the people as well, what decisions you're going to make. But anyway, outside of work, what do you wish you got to do more of?
Probably just...
You can't say pickleball because you're...
Well, now I'm making up for it now. For sure. Well, I only discovered pickleball because of Gary Vee last year. I never heard of it. I grew up here in Seattle, in northern or north of Lake Washington, and never heard of it.
Oh, I never heard of it until last year either.
Yeah.
I had heard of it, but I had never played it or done something. And someone had one at their house, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then my friends got in. Did you just like see Gary Vee? Like,
he bought the team. He bought this team. Yeah. And I was like, okay, we'll check it out.
Well, now I'm in. You're I got to become the best at this because you're really good now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I started in February, so it's only been 7 months. But like I said, I literally playing every day.
I did the same last year. I started July last year, and for the first 3 months while it was sunny, I was just like intense, self-imposed intense training camp because I was just addicted to it. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like table tennis combined. I can like trick shots and all that sort of stuff.
You're the master of
when you visit the zoo,
I don't think I answered that question.
Oh, sorry. Hey,
so I'd probably say travel.
Okay. Where would you like to travel to? What's your next on your list?
So I've been to Europe. I haven't been to South America yet.
Oh, you haven't?
And I haven't been to Asia a lot. So those are probably the two places.
I'm going to Mexico in October.
Nice. And I've never been to Mexico.
You've never been to Mexico?
No.
I feel
my Mexico was Honolulu.
Well, that's a pretty good Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going there. It's I always find going to like places where I've been to Peru, I've been to Bali, and I've been to like Mexico, and these places that are just on the brink of like sort of, and I don't know if this is a way to say it, but like first world and like sort of second world, so they're just on the brink of like, it feels like they're the same sort of place, just with different aesthetics, religious aesthetics and stuff, which the people are brilliant and all that, always there. But I always wonder if that's the Western influence in that. Like, hey, we're coming through here. Yeah. We're doing this. Oh, you guys feel like you need to have another temple for us? Like, so then we feel you get what I mean? And so I was driving through Bali one time and they were like, the guy was like, oh. I was like, was there that many temples? Like, did you guys make all these? He says, oh, no. This was not like this like a few years ago or 10 years ago, whatever.
Starbucks.
Yeah, basically there were temples that people would be like, oh, every town would have one. Come visit this one, come do that, which I understand, but it's sort of like that's the Western sort of influence on that, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. But I guess I haven't. So that's why I need to travel more.
Yeah.
I have not experienced that.
Yeah. What does it say? Oh, when you visit the zoo, what animals are you most excited to see?
That's good. I love animals.
Yeah, me both.
I think the reptiles probably.
Oh, me too.
And the primates too, because they're just.
You want to pick their brain? I'm here all week.
Yeah, no, but I've actually gotten to work with primates with my research. I'd say the reptiles because there's always
reptiles. Is there one in particular?
I like to see the massive snakes. Although now you can see those in pet stores and stuff like that. But
you go to Florida and you're walking along, and you see one.
30-foot Burmese python.
Oh God, they're huge.
I love it. But because I literally, when I was a child, I was obsessed with reptiles.
Me too.
I had probably one of every kind that you could buy. I didn't always do well with them, but
yeah. I think it's a hard learning experience for a kid. And I think like back then there wasn't as much available information.
There's no internet.
Yeah. So now so I love reptiles as well. Like my kids have both of a bearded dragon each.
Oh, nice.
In Australia, we had these things called bobtails with the shingleback lizard skinks.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah. So we had a couple of those.
The skinks. Yeah.
Skinks. Yeah. So I had a couple of those. I've had all types of lizards. Russian tortoise for a while and stuff like that. I love it.
Nice. My holy grail when one of the first reptile books I bought, the first page was what's that? The dragon?
Oh, frilled neck lizard.
Yeah, the frilled.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted those, and they recently become available. But
the fact that you can in Australia, you might be able to get them now, but when I was a kid, you couldn't have them. Yeah. But it's funny that you can go into like exotic pet stores here, and you'd be like, oh, there's a reptile. Oh, I could get a wallaby. Yeah. Like I could just have my own little mini Australia here.
Yeah. Oh, you should.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be really fun. What trait of yours are you most proud of?
Trait. I get obsessed with things, and that's how I'm successful. I mean, that's pickleball. That's everything. Like I literally get so obsessed.
I'm with you on this, and I want to see what your difference is between obsession and addiction.
Yep.
So where's your line on that?
Well, so I think we talked about this previously, but you worked in Nintendo. I worked in Nintendo. I was a gameplay counselor.
Right. Yeah.
So when I was younger, I played games all the time, obsessed, got every Nintendo game. Then I worked in Nintendo, and I got burned out on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I started getting into the PC games, and I just play it for like a week straight.
Yeah.
Just completely, my whole life would just end. Like I'd do nothing but play. And so I realized that was it was an addiction.
Yeah.
And so literally, I haven't played video games for over a decade, probably.
Oh, wow.
More than a decade.
Yeah.
Because I know I won't be able to stop. I'll play chess. I'll play chess.com. So that's the only game.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
I don't want to play you.
I'm not that good.
I play all the time as well. My father-in-law consistently have a game going on.
Okay.
Like at all time.
Do you do bullet?
No, what's bullet?
It's the 1 minute.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite.
Oh no, so
because then it's also short, so then I don't play forever.
Yeah, so we just have one where it's like, it's the 14-day one.
Go back and forth.
Yeah. So we go back and like I'll send and like we're just people being busy, and so sometimes we're like sitting there having dinner, we're both playing chess, so I'm like, good, like, and then he'd be like, hey, ding. Oh no.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's your rating?
I don't know.
3 or 4 digits.
It's definitely in the 3 digits.
Yeah.
I'm like, I will say I've only played him, and he's so much better than me. And so I think when you see the win-loss streak, I've like won 30 and he's won 100, and there's like 2 draws. So I think I'm never going to be able to grow past that because he's always just beating me. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy the game so much, but I don't enjoy not that I don't enjoy it. I don't have the obsessiveness with it to be able to go, I'm going to go and look down all these moves and all this sort of stuff and put them into action. I'm like, I'm just going to play and enjoy and try and find out the path I can get to. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, see, there again, just like how do you start a startup? You don't just start, right?
Yeah.
So like I was under 1,000 for a long time, and then I just went on YouTube and I saw a video and I learned the London system.
Oh yeah.
And when I learned the London system, I jumped up like 400 points. Like it's you can just do it step by step.
I will say this: I think one of the reasons I don't is because I don't want to play any more than I do.
Yeah.
Mainly because I would get too into it because I really just stimulate. Yeah, really.
We're talking about this.
That's true. Maybe that's the thing is that like I'm holding myself back because I don't want to like. I'd play with you like if we're like, oh yeah, we'll have games going on and that. But I've had other people being like, oh yeah, jump on and so I'm like, I just play with my father-in-law because I don't want to get that.
That's very healthy.
Oh yeah, but I'm so obsessed with other stuff. Like one time I got right into, and I'm not a car person, but I was like right into people fixing up cars. And so I was obsessed where I'd be staying up late watching these shows.
Just watching them.
Just watching because I didn't want to, I was like, I want to do this at some point in my life, but I don't want to, like, this sort of fills that need.
Yeah.
So I'd be drawing and I'd be like watching it and I'd be like watching hours and hours and hours of it. And then all of a sudden, done. And now I don't watch those things. Like, I don't have an enjoyment of like, I like seeing an old car, but I don't go, oh, let me go watch that like car be redone. And like it's just like once it's done, it's out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's messed up in there.
Yeah, I mean I'm doing the same thing with pickleball videos, but yeah, that's just.
Oh, I don't watch any pickleball videos.
I'm so obsessed.
Oh, I probably from when I started to now, if you accumulated all the ones, it's half an hour. That I've watched. Like,
I do that every night.
Oh, really?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, and I used to pop on my feed a bit, and like it would probably be just the longest videos I've ever watched was probably picking out my paddle from Pickleball Studio.
Yeah.
Pickleball
Chris
Studio.
and Will, love those guys.
Yeah,
shout out Chris and Will.
Yeah, and they're really good. You know what I mean? Like
it's
like they know their stuff, so it was easy to make a decision. But other than that, I was just like, okay, when I'd much rather be here playing it. But you put skateboarding on.
Yeah.
Like my thing is full of skateboarding and illustrations.
Nice.
And probably girls.
I used to skate.
Did you?
What was your board?
Oh wow, which board?
Back in the day.
I skated for like 20 something years.
Okay,
so I had my first board was a Powell Pool Bomber.
Okay.
And then I got my second board after that was a Andrew Reynolds Birdhouse with a chainsaw on it.
Okay. Not familiar, but
yeah. So I've had so many skateboards. Nice. Like, oh god, it's got to be 1,000, I reckon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine. I stopped in high school, I think, but mine was a Tony Guerrero, and I think I had a Nodis Coppice before that.
Oh, okay. So you might have been just
that was just before
my time. Yeah. So I was in. I was around the surf skate culture, and like so I knew how to roll on a board, but I wouldn't call myself a skater until I hit 16.
Okay.
And
were you doing like freestyle and stuff, like street and
just rolling around, like pretend to surf, like
going
down,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and then I hit 16, and just before 16, and my neighbors or friends of mine were like they were skating, and I was like, oh, and plus I'd seen like skateboarding, like I'd watch the X Games and stuff like that, but I was way more into surfing.
Okay.
But I was shit at it. I was way more into it. And then the guys like, oh, come over here, watch this. And they were trying a kickflip, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. And I almost got a kickflip, and right then, I was like, I'm a skateboarder now.
Exactly.
And so all I could think about was like going into skateboarding. And if I could still skate as well as what I did, I probably wouldn't be doing pickleball.
Same.
Yeah.
I almost during the pandemic, that's what I was almost going to do, but I was afraid I was going to hurt myself because I was in Venice Beach at the time.
Oh yeah.
And you know the pools, the skate
park
there.
Right? Yeah.
So I went there.
That's
every
like
day
the most
just
iconic skate. Not the most. That's I would say the most viewed skate park in the world.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so but I could still ollie. But
yeah. Can you?
But yeah, I was the ollie king back then. You know, the kickflip. It's like we go to Finn Hill Junior High actually.
Oh, okay.
In Kirkland, and they have these stairs, and so I just jump all the stairs, and like there's this, I don't know, maybe 20 stairs, and I did that once.
You did the 20 stairs?
Yeah.
No
way.
I
landed very shakily, but like
if you rolled away, that's fucking impressive. I think the highest I've ever done is a 10 stair or 12 stair. Nice. I was like, and then I was like, I was shitting myself. Like I was better at I was a trainee skater more, so at a skate park, I could skate just about anything. I'd do like massive 360 flips and ollie over bins off of something. And,
oh, dang.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was super fun.
Do you ever snowboard?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, snowboard. That's where I want to. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I only just started when I moved here. Mm-hmm. But I did just get a season's pass. Nice. So going up there. So maybe we should go up this winter. Just to Snoqualmie.
Snoqualmie. That's where I learned. Yeah. Ski Acres. But
yeah. But yeah, we should go up this season.
Absolutely.
All
if
right.
I'm here.
Oh, that's right. You might be leaving.
I might be in LA.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'll be down in LA in January. So if you're down there, then we'll meet up.
Nice.
Yeah. Whereabouts in LA are you?
Redondo Beach.
Oh, I've got no idea where that is.
So, you know Manhattan Beach?
I know where Long Beach is.
So it's above Long Beach, below LAX.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like a 20-minute drive from...
Well, depending on traffic.
Yeah. LA traffic.
It goes Venice, Marina del Rey, LAX, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach. Okay. And then Long Beach.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Well, I feel no matter what, we'll make it work down
there. Let's go.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Okay. So when you say, let's go back to the, you said that you are obsessive, and you think that's your best trait, and that helps you get successful at all the things you do?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there something that, what's the trade-off for that?
Well, we just talked about it. The addiction side.
The addiction side. So you would say that it's more the obsession sort of leans into the addiction side.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so I had this for my biotech, obviously, and you have to in order to push through all the hard times and all that stuff.
I do. I agree with that. The question I have on it is, how do you know that you've tipped in from obsessive? Because I feel like obsessive's a little bit fun. Like, you know what I mean? But the addiction's like when you need that fix, otherwise it's not going to work. So how do you get out of that? Because you found that with video games. So how do you now, as an adult, go, oh man, I've found this, and now it's too much of an addiction. Like it's too much getting into the way of other things. Yeah.
Well, I think we're reaching it with pickleball because I literally playing 4 to 6 hours a day, sometimes longer.
But the thing is I will say this. You can afford it, right? You're not impacting anyone. You're enjoying it. It's a great community. So to me, it's like if you're like, hey,
lots of positives.
Lots of positives. So it's hard to.
But it's also I'm putting off making other decisions.
Yeah.
Because I have this unrealistic aspiration of going pro, and so there's. So
is your goal to get on Gary Vee's team?
That would be a goal, but I would love to play an MLP. Who knows if I wouldn't want to try to do singles or try to do the PPA thing, but I'd love to play in a team format event. On the pro level, and so there are opportunities that I've said no to recently that I probably should have done, but I have this. Do
you know what? You got 80 years, maybe 100 years in this life.
I have a small window before I can't run as fast as I can. Stuff. And so maybe I'll take a couple years off and go for it.
I say go for it, right? And then you can say imagine you're
I invented a cancer drug. I'm gonna go play
exactly. You've done enough. I can't say that. All right. What is your comfort food? After you've pushed all those decisions away.
Yes, that's a good question. My mom's home cooking, probably.
What type of food does your mom cook?
So we're Filipino, and she's an awesome cook and baker. Oh, look at this.
Oh, yeah. We just had a puppy walk through here. Oh, hello,
hey, Coconut. It looks like Coconut from TikTok. So she cooks this one dish. It's basically braised oxtails in a peanut sauce.
Oh, wow.
So fucking good. She cooks it for my birthday and for the holidays. And stuff
oh, that's sweet.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. Do you have any siblings?
I have an older sister.
An older sister?
Yeah, she lives not too far from here.
Oh, cool. Awesome. What is something that you have overcome that makes you proud?
Probably the divorce.
Okay. Was it... Obviously, it's tolling on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you guys did it pretty amicably. Mm-hmm. So it's still tolling on you. What was the thing you had to overcome?
Yeah, so I mean, it was still not clean, right? So she wouldn't talk to me for a year.
Oh, okay.
So it was a transition. Meanwhile, I was burned out, so I didn't want to deal with anything.
Yeah.
Which is why I moved to Venice Beach. Just to try to recover.
Yeah.
So so there were, it's a marriage, so it takes two. There were aspects of my personality that were not great, and it wasn't until after the divorce that I sort of realized that I really need to work on these things.
Yeah. Okay.
If I want to have another relationship in the future, and just being a nice person in the world.
Yeah.
And again, Gary Vee's part of that because he's was sort of the seed for that.
Yeah.
So it's still work in progress. It's only been 4 years. There's a lot of time, but still working through it.
Well, it's also like when you're trying to adjust, like whether it's personality traits or things that like a natural thing in your brain to think. Mm-hmm. It's hard to sort of like know that that's not the way to think. Like I have similar things, like where I might think negatively about something before I think positively about it. Mm-hmm. And from like growing up in like sort of a flight or fight mode and being like ready to fight, not like fight, but like mentally like, and I'm like, oh, hang on, I need to think about that for a second.
Absolutely.
And sort of taking that sort of stuff. But I get you. It's hard to break those sort of things.
For sure. I mean, because it happened in childhood, so that's what you know.
Yeah, exactly. What are three things that you were grateful for? Family, obviously. I think everyone will probably say family. They do. That's the first. That's the first.
Yeah, he changed my life. I mean, I got to give him props. And, I'm grateful for my mentor, my first mentor in neurosurgery, Shawn Grady.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so he was my undergraduate mentor. He was a professor at University of Washington.
Yep.
Took me under his wing. I had no lab experience and helped me fall in love with the research and supported me. One of the first things he did, my first summer with him, he actually flew me down to a conference in San Diego. Yep. Fully paid for everything, and we got to hang out with him and eat dinner with him, and it sort of changed the trajectory of my life. And
wow.
It's in that we're still friends. And he just retired. He was a chairman at UPenn up until last year.
Oh wow.
Of neurosurgery, and he helped out with the company. And so, I'm totally grateful for him. He changed my life before Gary Vee did.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. You have to wear a shirt with a slogan on it for a year. What does it say? God, no. It has to be yours.
Yeah. I would say #fuck glioblastoma, which is the brain cancer that I'm working to try to treat.
Okay.
And because it'll catch attention, and I'm just trying to create awareness.
Yeah. So, well, then let's speak on that specific cancer. Mm-hmm. So, being such an idiot I am, when you're like, I'm treating brain cancer, I'm like, whoa, he's treating all brain cancers, and they're all the same. So, speak on that a little bit, and let's bring awareness to it here.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. So, glioblastoma is actually the most common adult brain cancer. It's actually the most common and most malignant adult brain cancer.
Okay.
So most people are diagnosed with this tumor, and it's too late at that point.
Okay.
And so right now there isn't a way to detect it, although there are now methods potentially, I think probably in 5-10 years, where we can detect it in the blood. Yeah. Because there'll be DNA and other things that you can detect from the tumors. But yeah, so it's horrible disease. As I mentioned, when I was an undergraduate pre-med, there were no FDA-approved treatments. Today there are only 5. Okay. And that's 30 years later. And so
how common is it?
It's not very common. So it's considered a rare cancer. So approximately 15,000 people are diagnosed every year. Okay. But it's 90% are dead within 2 years.
Okay. when you create something like this for a population that is 320 million, but 15,000, is it hard for people to say, hey, we're going to put money into this where it's only a small amount? Not saying those people's lives aren't value in this conversation right now. I'm just saying that for as a business side, they're like, well, let's say that 15,000 people, is this a year?
Per year.
Okay, so 15,000 a year, and let's say that they all paid, let's say, $5,000 for a treatment or whatever like that. The company's not even making that much money, right, to do that?
That's right.
So that was hard?
So that's hard from the advocacy side point. It's also hard in biotech, and that's part of the reason why it was hard for me to raise the money, and I got burned out.
Okay.
Because I was stubborn. But the good news here, though, is, my drug can actually be, I developed initially for brain cancer, but it can actually be used for any cancer.
So that's what was my next question. Is like, when you create something like that, is that like the platform that
it's a platform
that goes, okay, now can we apply it to this drug?
Exactly.
Or, hey, there's a different type of brain cancer. We know that's working here. If we adjust it slightly, however you do with magic, woo, and then you go, all right, bang.
Yep, no, they're platforms. Almost every drug is a platform, and so when you hear it's for brain cancer, that's basically just sort of like a marketing thing, because that's the way the FDA works. That's how you get approved. You have to market it to a specific
thing. Okay.
So that's unfortunate. But the good news, again, is if the drug exists, then doctors can prescribe it for their tumors. And
so I don't know if you don't have to answer this, but when that drug becomes a platform, and then let's say that I give up this podcasting shenanigans and become a neurosurgeon, and then go, you know what, I'm going to create my own drug, but I'm using that as a platform. Then do you get royalties through that because they used it as a platform?
It depends. Yeah. I mean, my drug is an antibody. And so, I've patented the genetic sequence, and I've also patented 20 other related sequences. So as long as you stayed away from those sequences, you could probably do it, but that would probably take another 10 years to do it.
I'm going to go find a sequence.
Do it. Find your own sequence. No, but because if you change one little thing, like it's not the same thing. So you can do that, but it's hard. It's biology, right? It's complex things sort of.
What do you think? This is we're off topic a little bit. I think it was last year. Was it UW and Google started using AI to figure out proteins and how they could like map the proteins better.
Sure.
Is that the sort of stuff that you're talking about when you're talking about sequences?
Yeah, you could use it for that purpose, and a lot of startups right now are actually in that.
Okay.
So it's that's I think, but I mean, there are. Then you still have to do the 10 years of work. I'm not saying that,
but I'm just saying is that like that blew my mind from like a layman's point of view. I can't imagine from like you guys that are like in the mix of it going like, oh my gosh, imagine what this opens up now.
For sure. Because that's the whole power of biology is, in the past, my antibody, we lucked out because we sort of just discovered this. And so we were good to go. Yeah. Now, if you wanted to try to recreate that, you couldn't do that because of my patents. But if you had to recreate from scratch, it would take you years and years. Yeah. But with AI technology, you might be able to hack it a little bit and take some time off.
Yeah, just like you, and do it in 7 years rather than 8.
Exactly, because that's what the immune system does is, when you get an infection, basically it's in AI and it creates all these different sequences, sees which ones stick and actually improve the disease, and then they make more of that, and then they make a memory of that. And so that's, our own AI is our immune system.
Wow.
So if you can do that with computers, so if you can do that with silicon, then
could we hack our immune system to correctly attack certain things? So if there's a cancer growing, that we could go like, all right, let's.
That's happening right now. It's called immunotherapy. It won the Nobel Prize a couple of years back.
Did it?
Yeah. So there's multiple types of immunotherapy, but the one that won the Nobel Prize is called checkpoint inhibition. And so that's just the first step. There's going to be so many other things that sort of help the immune system do its job. Because the tumor is yourself, right? So the problem is trying to make the immune system recognize it's
that one piece.
Yeah, that it's mutated, even though it's yourself. It's mutated, and you should get rid of it. So that's the nuance there.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, in a couple of weeks, I'll have you an illustration for you based on this. I am so grateful that you would be on here.
Absolutely.
It blows my mind that you have had a biotech company, and that just, like, I don't think I've ever met anyone that has one. So.
It blows my mind, too. I mean, I don't believe it.
No. All the hard work you've put in, you deserve it. So
I'm playing a lot of pickleball. That's my reward.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And thanks for jumping on, being on here.
Of course.
Yeah, I hope you had fun.
I did. That was fun.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.
That was a lot of fun.